Adam Gower here of Gower Crowd. Welcome to the podcast. And this week you're going to be hearing from Asaf Raz, who is head of marketing at Agora Real Estate Tech. Now, I discovered Agora because they kept popping up in my feed in LinkedIn and possibly on Facebook and on Twitter. I can't remember, but definitely on LinkedIn anyway, with some promoted ads. And what drew my attention to them specifically was that they are clearly directly involved in exactly the same industry as I am, providing services to real estate sponsors. The only difference is that what they do is to provide the back-end system. So, for example, when somebody has actually made the decision to invest, the Agora platform provides all the document management processes, distributions, and etc. after the fact. However, what I learned from Asaf, what you're going to hear from Asaf today, is that they actually go further than that. In fact, what he told me today is so intriguing. We've actually arranged a demo. So be sure to go to the podcast page at gowercrowd.com, and I will include further information on how to find out more about Agora Real Estate and how to get a demo, or if they'll let me, I might even put a recording of the demo they're going to do with us on that page. And while you're there, of course, go to the subscribe button at the top of every page on the Gower Crowd website. If you're not already a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. We produce the only weekly newsletter that covers exclusively the world of real estate crowdfunding, online syndication. It's totally free right there at gowercrowd.com. All right, I am going to let Asaf take it from here. So let me go ahead and introduce you to him now. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Asaf Raz, head of marketing at Agora Real Estate Tech. Asaf, super good to meet you. I know that you're on the other side of the world somewhere. It doesn't really matter where you are these days, right? Does it at all? You are with Agora Real Estate. Is that right? That's the full name of the company?
That's right.
Agora Real Estate.
Agora Real Estate Technologies.
Agora Real Estate Technologies.
There we go.
And you are head of marketing. I'm delighted to meet you.
Yes, I am.
So top line, let's just start with, all right, what do you do? Right, what is Agora Real Estate Technologies? Kind of give me the high level elevator pitch. I don't want you to pitch. Just tell me who you are and what you do.
There we go. So as you said, I'm the head of marketing at Agora. I think I'll start from the beginning actually, because about a couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago, we started working with a few developers, GPs, real estate firms, investment firms, on trying to help make their lives easier and just better and more efficient. It was actually founded by Varmore, our CEO, Lior Dolinsky, our chief product officer, then Noam Khan, who runs our technologies. He's the CTO. And they came up with this, like, they saw a challenge. We're not even talking about what we do, because actually, those developers have serious challenges when we talk about the operator perspective of what they do, right? And their goal, and now my goal, obviously, been here for 2 years, is to help those developers and GPs just be more efficient, make their lives easier with all the operational aspects of running a real estate investment business. That's like the basics of the basics. Okay. And we do that with a bunch of tools, and this is what we've built. We've built a tool that actually helps them do that based on their day-to-day work and their workflows that they do every day, like raising capital, sending distributions, creating reports to the investors, and actually communicating between those GPs and developers to their investors, if that makes sense.
Okay, so let me interrupt then. So what you do is you handle, just to be clear, because when you talk about real estate operations, there's a whole gamut, a whole range of different types of things you're talking about. But what you're really talking about specifically is investor management systems, right? Basically, when an investor says, okay, I like what you've got, I want to invest with you, then that's where you guys take over, right? That's where your platform kicks in. So
well, it starts even a little bit before. So GPs, they're looking to raise capital. So from the start of the process, they say, okay, I found a deal. I want to raise capital. I want to buy the deal. I want to make it better. So from the starting of the process where they need to raise money, that's where we kick in, all the way down to when they're managing the deal and actually need to distribute and work with the investors. So we're bridging that gap between the GPs and the LPs, both in their financial relationships, but also interpersonal relationships. So it's taking over this entire operational cycle.
Okay. So how do you do that?
So we've built a tool that is, well, it's built out of many things, many workflows that those GPs need to do. One example was the fundraising software, right? The fundraising tool where we help them raise capital from their investors, right? This is the start of the process.
How does that work exactly? How do you help people actually raise capital? What does that look like? So if I'm a developer and I need to raise 10 million today, how would I use Agora to do that?
Well, I'll start with what would you do if you wouldn't have Agora? You'll start sending out emails. You'll start, calling LPs. You'll start activating your network in order to get LPs to invest in your deal, right? For example, with Agora, you can do that super easy online. You can create a brochure or a portfolio brochure of like, this is the deal I'm going to raise money for. This is the deal. This is the IRR. This is the cash on cash. This is all of the deal offerings. Do you want to invest? Yes, no, and they can literally invest online, right? So you take this entire process of doing everything very manually to an investor seeing this online, saying, hey, I want to commit to this deal. I want to get into this deal as fast as I can. The GP gets a message, hey, this investor wants to start working with you. And from taking hours and hours of work, it could take literally minutes.
Right. So you can send it. So you set up a page on Agora that has all the
For
deal,
example,
right? It's got all the deal info.
Yes.
All the deal info.
Yes.
It's got all the offering docs. It's got all of that stuff, and then you can trigger from within Agora, or I suppose from any email service provider. You can trigger emails to thousands of prospects that say, "Do you want to invest in this deal?" And if you do, click here, and that then takes you to the Agora portal, to that developer's, area. What's the word? Their vault, whatever you want to call it, on the Agora platform, and then they can register to invest, right? Is that how it works?
That's true. Yes, that's the beginning of the process. Well, we've built and I think it's worth to mention how we've built the product itself, or how we've built that relationship, like how we're closing those relationship gaps. So we have the GP side. We call that the ACP, the admin control panel. This is where the GP kind of does everything. So if we talk again, focus on fundraising, this is where he'll put the offering, he'll put the asset, he'll put all the information, documents, the data room, everything is going to be there. Now, the fun part of this is that once he does that, all of the investors that have access to the portal, which is the other side of the platform, the investor portal, this is where the investors log in, see all the information. They can go in there, they can see there's a new active offering, look into the details. If they're already investing with you, they click a button, they're already committed, they're good to go. They can sign some documents and they're good to go for the deal. If they're new investors that you don't know, you can manage them in a pipeline within the platform until they become your investors, send you all the documents and information, sign everything that they need to sign. Everything happens from the same place. So it's not only email, it would be email, it could be phone calls, it could be just writing notes and understanding which LPs wants what. So again, the idea was to bridge that gap, and then that gap is being bridged by a bunch of tools they can use. Fundraising is one of them. We can also use, for example, the CRM as a great example. When you communicate and you work with, when developers work with LPs, with investors, there's a lot of back and forth communication, exchanging IDs, documents. They need to fill information, bank account details, right? All of that information is being aggregated into Agora. It's super easy and fun for an investor to go into his portal and just add that information, or just log in and become an investor with the GP. And it's super easy for the GP to see all that information and communicate directly with the investor from any channel he wants. Everything is logged and tracked, so you never lose whatever information, like whatever conversation you had with the LP. And you can also talk to the team and say, hey, like my investor relations manager, I would tell him, hey, Harry just reached out about this and this investment. Let's make sure we take care of him. Let's make sure we send him the report he's asking for, or the document he's asking for, right? So think of the life cycle of a developer that starts from fundraising all the way down to reporting and tax operations and financial administration. This whole circle of financial relationship is being managed within Agora, right? Okay. So it's not simply, does that make sense?
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you some technical. I'm going to dive into the weeds a little bit.
Go ahead.
We're doing that. So All right. So are you
Go
able,
ahead.
just forgive me for doing this. I probably shouldn't do it in a podcast, but I'm going to do
Mhm.
it anyway. It's my podcast.
Do it anyway.
And everybody, actually, I know wants to know this anyway. So let's say if I have a website
Yeah.
that is capturing leads. Now, there's two different types of leads. There are those that are really top of funnel, right? These are prospects that have come in. They barely know anything. It might be off a Facebook campaign. Let's talk about that. Say we're running a Facebook campaign. We're starting to generate these very, very early day top of funnel leads, right? So they're signing up to get a white paper or something, and they're answering questions
Yeah.
that say, I'm accredited or I'm non-accredited. What kind of logic structures are you able to deliver inside Agora? So for example, just really simple example, if somebody tags accredited, can they get will they get a different or can they get a different subsequent sequence of emails than somebody that says I'm non-accredited?
100%. Not only that, we've built it in a way that, so for example, a Facebook campaign, right? Not a lot of our developers use Facebook campaigns to raise capital nowadays, but even if they do, it's easy for us. They would say, okay, here's the Facebook ad, right? They click on the Facebook ad. The Facebook ad would take them to, let's say, a specific investment, right? That would be what we call the public brochure, right? So they would go click on that Facebook, go into that public brochure. In the public brochure, they'd say, I'm interested. Okay, you're interested. Let's get some information about you. For example, accredited or not accredited. The GP can decide whatever information he wants to ask for those top of funnel leads. Once they come in, he's able to measure and understand if he wants to work with them or not and get them into a specific email sequence that would fit their specific situation according to specific metrics. So it's so easy to cut and digest the information and to say, hey, I want this accredited investor to get this type of email right after he submits a soft commitment to a deal.
Okay, and you can create sequences of emails. So you might say when somebody submits this form, send them this email immediately, send this email a day after, and this one 2 days after, for example.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, and those are logic. And then you can also track where all these leads come from. So if I'm running Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn ads, you can see where they're all coming from. And then are you able to assign roles as well to team members? Like this person, if they're accredited and they want to invest over 250,000, then this team member A, they will get notified to handle this one. But somebody that's accredited and only wants to invest 25,000, this team member bifurcate.
Yeah. So
you can create logic.
Yeah. So I will say this: we don't connect directly to the source of where the leads come from. So we're not your everyday typical CRM. We are very, very focused on the needs of real estate today. What we're seeing is that as long as an investor comes in, right, he fills in the information, he wants to invest in the deal. We know how much he wants to invest in the deal. We can easily distribute that to different team members according to what he wrote and what he said, and they can take the initiative to check and see if he's really a good investor for us or not a good investor for us. So in terms of logic, that part is easy to do. It is important to say we're not connected to advertising platforms. We really don't see a pressing need from developers right now to have that kind of connection to those platforms, because again, as I said, most of our developers don't really advertise new deals on Facebook or Google. Most of them have their network of investors, network of LPs, and they do it through their network.
So you know. So those developers that are not doing active paid marketing, whoever's listening, give us a call because you need to be. That's number one.
There we go.
You've absolutely got to. There we go. You're going to tap out of your investor base. That's exactly what we do. And that is important. And I'm sure that we can track, but I'm sure we can track where people come from, even on Agora.
100%.
We're very good at doing that. So let's move on a little bit. So here's my other question. So, all right. So how do you find developers? You got this whole list of developers there, and I see you on. I think you're advertising on LinkedIn. I know you're advertising
We
at
are.
least on LinkedIn, possibly elsewhere. So how do you guys troll to find new prospects?
So there are a bunch of ways to do that. Anyone who's in B2B marketing would know what I call the omni-channel approach, meaning that we understand that people need, well, it used to be between 9 to 12 touch points with a brand until they say, hey, I want to go and talk to this brand. Today it goes up to 20, even 22 touch points before they even want to have a conversation. And the reason for that is people become smarter, information is more accessible, it's easier for people to learn by themselves before they even have a conversation with sales or whoever within a company.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really using that omni-channel approach. So on the one hand, we have what we call our outbound operations. This is where we have a team of sales development representative who reach out to those developers in GP and ask them, hey, are you interested? Are you in the market for this? Right? While this thing happens, we run advertising that is on similar type of lists, so similar developers. In the same time, we get advertising on LinkedIn, Google ads, Google display ads, right? So they'll have that approach where they see everything. And then we continue to answer their questions in what we call an organic engine. So we write articles about their questions, we create videos about their questions, we give them answers to pressing challenges they have. And then when they see us all the time and they're actively looking for that solution, or they're looking to solve their pain, they would find us and say, oh, I remember Agora. This guy from Agora reached out to me, and then I saw this ad, then I saw them on LinkedIn, on social media, they did something pretty cool. And then I got an email from them, and then all of a sudden, now I'm on their website reading an article about how to run investment management, right? So the channels that we usually work on, well, they vary, but we see a lot of movement on websites like G2, if you're aware of G2, and Capterra, which are websites where people compare different types of products. We're on the top 3, ranked there right next to Juniper Square and Appfolio. Really kind of running for the top right now. This year has been amazing. We'll talk about that later, but it's just been incredible to see how people are really kind of adopting this kind of business.
Mm-hmm.
So we run that omni-channel approach, make sure to provide as much value as we can for GPs. Let the GPs speak for us, or the developers speak for us, because we don't know any better than the GPs know what they need. And that's where we're always led by what our prospects need, by what our customers need, and everything that we build is tailored for what they need.
Asaf, and which channels work? Which channels work the best for you? You talk about Google. Actually, you do all of them, all the main ones. Google,
All
LinkedIn,
of them. I do
Facebook.
all of them. I do social. Yeah.
Nice.
So
As far
what
as
has
paid
worked
advertising,
so
what
far?
I find works the best.
Yeah. Google Ads works the best on search, specifically search.
Really?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Search has a really high intent. When someone is actively searching for Juniper Square, or he's actively searching for real estate investment management software, he's probably actively looking and in the market.
Right.
Usually that would be between 3 to 5% of the people are in the market right now. Sometimes it's even less. And in 2023, it might be even less than that, right? So once they're in the market and they're ready to buy and they're showing some form of intent, this is the best place to capture them. Google is pretty strong. I also Google search, but I also want to say that that we've seen really good responses from Bing. Something's happening on Bing right now, and it's been working very well.
That's really interesting. I call that actually the moment of maximum intent. When somebody actually enters the search term, that is the point, or the moment of maximum intent. That's exactly when you want to grab them, actually.
To capture. Yeah.
To capture a lead. And that we actually do a lot of SEO work for our clients, so it comes up organically as well when people search, when prospects. So it's really cool. All right, so you mentioned a couple of competitors. I was not going to discussion, but you did. So let me ask you this.
I'm happy to. I'm happy to mention them.
So how are you different from the competing? The 3 that we see our clients use most, you mentioned Juniper Square, actually IMS now, RealPage, and Appfolio. They're really the main ones out there.
Yes.
So how are you guys
Yes.
different from them, or is it kind of commoditized?
So I'll start by saying that, the difference, the way that I talk about the difference comes from our customers, not from what I say is the difference. I think that comparing feature by feature is not a very good way to look at the market. Um, the way that we've built Agora was very, very, very focused vertically on real estate. We are what you call a vertical SaaS company. We're highly focused on just one specific market niche, which is real estate investments. That is what we do: private equity real estate investments, right? That is our focused niche. So we were building that entire product based on those needs of those clients. That started from a very strong background of Bar, who founded this company with Lior and Noam. He comes from a very strong background of real estate. His dad is a very big developer here in Israel. So he grew up in a world where he sees those inefficiencies from when he was a child, right? And as he grew up, but while understanding real estate, he went into the technology world through the IDF and the Intelligence Corp, and then he got into studying computer science and IDC, and then he realized that he wants to make that connection. So the core and the basics of what we do at Agora comes from the real estate and not from the software side. Right? The software is just a means to how to solve those challenges. So we really come from that place. Now, when our customers talk about it, and if you'd ask them, what's the difference? And we've had a few customers move from different competitors to us. The two things that they say is, one, you guys understand real estate. When we talk about raising capital, when we talk about specific reports, when we talk about our need to divide investors into specific classes, creating complex waterfalls, distributing money from the platform, those things, like, you need to have a deep understanding of how the real estate developers run their business. And that is like the main thing that we've been getting is, you guys really understand real estate. We feel like we're having the same conversation. And this was the first big difference. I think the second difference comes from how we run our customer support. So we don't have a very hard to use or hard to engage with, like, customer success team or your support team, whatever it is. We're always accessible. You always have someone to answer you. You can literally have someone on WhatsApp or in a phone call if you need it, just to make sure that your business runs well, the software runs well, and helps you. And I would say those are the big two differences when it comes to how we run the business. When we talk specifically about the product, there are two things that we focused on, two pillars that we focused on to make sure that we're very differentiated from the market, from the other competitors in the market. One of them is the ability to customize the platform to exactly what you need. So the depth of customization is so big that you can literally create your own metrics and properties and things that you need that none of the other developers use. You can do that very easily in Agora, to an extent where it's very hard to do when we talk about the competitors. And the second part was the experience of the user and what he sees. So when you look at investors today, they're no longer from like older generations, I would say. You see a lot of Gen Y and even Gen Z starting to invest in real estate, and they expect a really easy, beautiful experience when they log into the investor portal. So we focused on giving them that experience. And to date, we are the top investor portal in the market in terms of usability, convenience, ease of use, customization. Those things are really important for our developers. And the more time goes by, the more importance it takes. So if you even compare side by side, you would definitely see that difference.
Fascinating. All right. And so what's your pricing structure? Because I'll just tell you, that's the first thing. It's one of the driving factors for the people in our network. It's like, all right, they go for the cheapest first. Amazing. And then figure out what's wrong with it. Basically, is that what it's
we usually get that second wave of people starting with the cheapest one, and then they say, "Oh my God, it's not working for me. I need something else."
Right, it's a waste of time.
Yeah, so we're not putting on our flag. Our banner doesn't say we're the cheapest. We also don't want to be the cheapest. But I'll explain how we've built the software and then what we've built around the software to kind of support those developers. So the software itself contains everything. You don't have limits of users, or you have no limitation. You use all the tools, right? You can use fundraising and the CRM and document center, reporting, signing documents. Everything works within this package you take. We start at $749 per month on a yearly contract. It could be paid monthly, quarterly. It depends on the client and what he needs. So this is kind of our starting point. And then we grow, that price grows according to what we call equity under management. So the more equity of investor managing the platform, this is how kind of it raises the bar. It could get all the way up to very big numbers when we talk about huge funds that use the platform. They have a lot of investor money and communications in there. But equity under management is the factor that makes that decision. So all the way up to around $50 million in equity under management, it will be around $749 per month.
Perfect.
Now this is, and this is the SaaS element of it. And we've built what we call financial administration products that are kind of supporting the needs of the developers and GPs we work with. So one of them is what we call tax operations, where we do the entire K1 process for them in tax season through our CPA service. So they get all the service that, you know, the CPA is already in the platform. The information is already in the platform. So it's super easy for them to create the K1s for their LPs, for themselves, and, you know, submit them on time, not being late. And the price there is very, very competitive, based on, you know, it's per entity, but it's super competitive comparing to the market of you know, CPAs running tax services. The second thing that we did is we created what we call bookkeeping services throughout the year. Those services are based on the same CPA that will be with you for the entire year. He would check your logs and your books and do whatever you need in terms of bookkeeping. Again, and he has access to the platform. So it's so easy for you to communicate through there. And then the third thing we did for developers and GPs that have investors overseas, we developed a full product of international payments so they can distribute money from different currencies, different countries super easily. This is something that really differentiates us. None of our competitors runs those kind of programs, because we also work with some Israeli developers and they really needed international payments. And we slowly realized how a lot of other GPs also raise capital overseas. So those international payments are going to be the third service. And what we're trying to do is create a full financial suite for those GPs to use to give them all the solutions that they need on top of just being an investment management platform, if that makes sense.
Fascinating. All right. Well, that's extremely detailed. Asaf, before we go any further and I ask my next question, let's set up a time to do an actual demo. And let's see if we can't get a bunch of people to come and join to see that. But we'll also record it and I'll distribute it if you're up for doing that. We can organize that. Yeah, I actually have some really detailed in the weeds stuff. We work on all the other platforms. All of our clients,
amazing.
But amongst them, they use all of them, and we unfortunately have to deal with all these platforms. So I know from first-hand experience the you know, pluses and minuses of all of them. So I'd love to get in the weeds and just see how you guys.
We would love.
So let's organize that later. But let me ask you this.
There we go.
So yes. Why you mentioned that this year has been exceptional. So actually, let's spin back a little bit to the beginning of 2021 when I just sent a kind of provocative email to a very, very good banker friend of mine. Let me see if I can dig it up. He's a really close personal friend and he runs a bank. And after the SVP or the Silicon Valley Bank.
SVP, Signature Bank.
He sent me an email. He said, "Oh my goodness, it reminds me of the Great Recession." And so I wrote back, "Happy days are here again." Isn't that Machiavellian response from a guy that wants to buy bargain real estate? And anyway, you know, when bankers thought they were happy days at the beginning, and developers when interest rates were so low at the beginning of 2021, a lot has changed, Asaf. So tell me, what are you seeing in the market?
So,
you know, in the last 15 months or so.
About 15 months last year. I think it's really the game is very different, right? And again, these insights are from customers and prospects we talk to all the time. I also have a podcast called The Deal Makers where I talk to GPs all the time and try to understand their challenges. And what I've seen throughout this, I don't know, 12 to 15 months is like 15 months ago, this was a buyer's market. The one thing that developers always told me is that we don't have a problem raising capital. We have a bunch of LPs wanting to pay money. That's not the issue. The issue now is finding a property. And that was the only thing they were focused on, finding a good property with good value, closing the deal quickly, right? That was the only thing they focused on. And then no one even thought, I mean, the ones who were smart enough and, went through '08 and understand the business might have felt that it's coming, right? They knew that something's happening. But the ones that didn't had a very serious problem, right? Because when you don't underwrite properly and you don't take into consideration how interest rates go up,
Yeah.
that could really influence, your entire financial model, right? It could get you a situation where you can't even pay back to your investors.
Right.
And that was very scary, right? When we started seeing those interest rates go up, we said, wow, like this might change the market. But as we all know, real estate has a tendency to react pretty slowly to those kind of crisis, and to those kind of things that happen in the market. Interest rates go up. And a lot of them also had those, I don't know if you're probably aware of that, but like when we talk about, for example, bridge loans, right? Which are very common within commercial real estate. People are taking those loans because they trust that next year they can take a better loan with better terms, pay out the other loan, and then continue for another year where they make money for investors. But now the interest rate is super high. They probably, some of them, the smaller ones usually, didn't model that into their underwriting, didn't model that into their, financials. And then all of a sudden this year, and the payday is now, like these specific few months are going to be payday. And now they need to take another loan to close the bridge loan or pay that bridge loan. And then if you take a new loan, the insurance is going to be super high, right? So all of a sudden, all of the margin that you had for the last 10, 11, 12 years of real estate bull run, all of a sudden that's collapsing to none, right? And this is what, when I heard this first, it was super scary for me. And the first thing that we saw, I think 4 months into this crisis, what we saw is that prospects told us that brokers have changed the game. They're now reaching out in order to sell properties. And it became from a buyer's market, it slowly shifted into a seller's market. And it started in tertiary markets, it moved into secondary markets. We still don't see that in primary markets. We did see some of it with RXR in New York and, all those kind of things, they happen. But usually we saw that on tertiary markets, it moved into secondary markets. And then now what we're seeing is that the bigger developers, I would say medium to large developers and GPs, they decided a long time ago to take the money, put it in their suitcase and just wait for the right moment. And right now, what I think is going to happen, again, this is my personal opinion. I'm not an expert in real estate. This is what I hear from, externally from people that we talk to in the industry. And what we it's like everybody's waiting for something to happen. So it's either prices go down or interest rate goes down, which probably won't happen soon. It might even stay the same way for a very long time. And the very experienced developers and GPs in the market are just waiting to buy these properties for cheap. And this is now it's a game, right?
Are you seeing
And I
any
think
pickup in your business? Are you finding are developers slowing down, or are they picking? Like, what are you seeing developers doing? I mean, obviously, from my
so.
perspective, I'll tell you, we're seeing activity, but from a different caliber of developer. And it's those that have been through the cycle before who are gearing up in
Yes.
expectation of seeing some opportunities, probably a very short window. Well, it depends where the
Yes.
banking system goes over the next few months.
Well, we don't know. Tomorrow
It's not
morning, we
just
might hear about
exactly.
another
It's not
bank
just interest
syndication.
rates now. There's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
kinds of things going on. But yeah, so are you seeing the same thing? Are you seeing people pulling back? What are you seeing?
No, so it's interesting. I think the past couple of weeks now, it's winter break, so things are a little bit slowing down. It makes sense. Also, what happened with SVB and Signature, it has some influence. But generally speaking, the more experienced developers, like you say, so the more established, experienced developers are actually stepping into tech, and they actually want more because they're preparing for what's going to happen in the future. So they want to have better fundraising capabilities and CRMs and sending better emails, and they want to have and creating better reports and better subscription flow. So they want that ready for what we call D-Day. Some of them are already raising capital for new deals and new funds, but they want to be ready. So what we saw is an uptake of the amount of intent and interest in buying this type of software, and in dealing with these kind of services that are not only based on our SaaS, but also like I said about financial administration tools. They're not necessarily trying to save on operations. They just want to be super efficient for the day when they start having that short window of let's make those deals, and I want to do it quick. I want to be super efficient. I want to have all the data in the same place. So it's like they're preparing and creating like better data centers, better integrity of the data, better understanding what works for them and what doesn't. So they're really preparing, and I can say in February we saw a huge uptake in the interest of developers in this type of these type of software and services.
Really? Why February particularly, do you think? What was going on in February?
Well, January was when we went into 23, the predictions were it's going to be a very bad year, right? Not only for real estate, in general, for the economy. And we're seeing that happen. Again, not a professional economist, but we're just, by reading and researching and seeing what's going on out there. And then January, started a little bit slow in terms of interest. And then slowly we saw that uptake where I feel like people were a little bit more positive as to what's going to happen with the market. The Fed stopped raising I think stopped or is not going to raise the next round.
A little bit.
Slowed it down a little bit. Slowed it down a little bit, which created some positivity. And I think that had a direct influence in January and February. But I think what happened with SVB was very big.
It's changed everything. Yeah.
It's changed everything.
Yeah. By the time this podcast goes live in 10 days, could be completely out of date.
Yes,
anything we talk about.
That's true.
Asaf, I just noticed the time. I can't believe we've been talking so long already. We will follow up, and I do have some questions specifically for you once we stop recording. But let's wrap up now, if you don't mind. I hate to cut it short, but we'll have another bite at this apple later. Let me ask you 3 rapid fire questions. Okay, just 3 rapid fire. The first rapid fire question is, what are the daily habits that you have that keep you successful and productive personally? What do you do?
So I do CrossFit almost every day. This is my number one sports. I've been doing that since I was a kid. So definitely CrossFit is a big one. I think my second habit is trying to sleep very well, at least 7 to 8 hours per night. That's huge. And then I use Monday. To run my tasks and my Gantt and my everything runs on Monday, and it runs perfectly.
Not the day Monday. You're talking about the platform Monday.
The platform Monday. So put everything. So it doesn't have to be Monday to platform, but I just make sure that what we call a brain dump. Like I put everything that I think out there and I write it, and I make sure to look into my lists to see what I can do better. Right. So these are like the 3 things that I focus on.
Very cool. The second rapid fire question. So what's been the hardest? You're only a young lad. I mean,
I'm 30.
Hey, right. That's what I mean. So anyway, I'm not being rude or anything.
That's okay.
Suddenly flashing back to what I was doing at 30. That was before electricity. But fighting fires for mother, The hardest lesson you've learned in real estate, right? What you've seen, like even or working at Agora, kind of in business in general. What's been the hardest lesson you've learned from so far?
People have a really short span of listening or reading or looking into things. The academy teaches you that you need to create whole books and reports on a specific subject. A person has 3 to 7 seconds until he decides if he wants or doesn't want to go into what he's hearing or reading. And one of the hardest lessons I learned is that I need to write less. I need to show less. I need to be very specific. I think this was the biggest thing when I came to real estate. Developers don't have time to have a lot of conversations about things that don't progress their business, right? So this I think was the hardest lesson when I talk about real estate.
Very cool. All right, last question, and then we'll wrap up. So what advice to any of developers listening now who don't have, and forgive me, I call it what you do, I call it a back-end system. So you handle investors, right? Once somebody has made the decision, basically, once they made the decision, you handle documents and distributions and reporting, K1s and all that kind of stuff. So what advice do you have to developers thinking about taking up finally putting their investors on a back-end platform in the context of this uncertain economic environment?
So I think that again, when we talk about the specific the technology and the way that they're like running their business, I think the biggest advice that I have is map out. It doesn't have to be like literally mapping it out, but map out even in your mind the workflows that you use every day to run your business today. Why? Because if you can take those workflows and work with a system that makes those same workflows 70, 80, 90% faster and more efficient, then this is the system that you need to work with. If it doesn't work on those flows, if it doesn't connect to those flows, then it's not the right system for you. So I think like understand what you're doing and how you run your business, and then you can choose whatever software you need.
We speak the same language. It's a pleasure
Amazing.
to meet you, Asaf. Asaf Raz,
Thank you,
Head of
Adam.
Marketing at Agora Real Estate Tech. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Adam. It was amazing.
All right, that was Asaf Raz, Head of Marketing at Agora Real Estate Tech. Fascinating company. And I'm looking forward, as you can hear from that podcast, I'm actually looking forward very much indeed to seeing their demo and to exploring new ways of working with them, bringing their services to all of you, because it's clear that there really is a need for, apart from the fact that there are some very, very big competitors out there. I've worked on all of the platforms and they all have challenges. And so I'm really keen to see what Agora has to offer, and I will let you know as well. In the meantime, Asaf, what a pleasure it was to meet you, to spend time with you today. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast. I know that the time difference was quite severe for you, so I'm very grateful to you. And to you too, dear listener, thank you for tuning in as well. If you made it all the way here, thank you indeed. Make sure you do subscribe at GaraCrowd.com to our newsletter. It's really easy to find how to do that there on the website. But for now, this is the end of the show today. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you next time. For now, this is Adam Gower. Boom, signing off.